Hi, you guys. Meal planning. Here I am again. Oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. Why am I doing meal planning on Wednesday? Because for my schedule, Monday and Tuesday are insanely busy. Wednesday, I have a bit more time to cook something. And then Thursday, Friday are busy again. So, and I plan my work schedule that way. So Wednesday, I try to make sure I can do a little more cooking if possible. And so I'm doing beans. And I reposted that recipe of that Tuscan bean soup that I love. So let's talk about beans. Because in my meal planning, it works best if I plan one big beany thing each week. And then I usually plan one meaty thing per week. And so this week my meaty thing was a pot roast. That's all gone now. And now I'm going to do a beany thing for the rest of the week. And my favorite beany thing is pinto beans, so I can have my famous burritos, or rice bowls, or nachos, or whatever it's going to be. But really it all revolves around a big pot of beans. And yes, you can buy canned refried beans. In fact, I happen to love Annie's refried beans. So good, but so expensive. I buy them by the case and I keep them in the shop, so I always have instant refried beans for a quick meal, if we don't have anything prepared. But pot of beans, it's so economical. It's so much cheaper to buy your pinto beans. I buy them in 25 or 50 pound sacks, keep them out in the shop, and then I just bring in and I cook 5 or 6 cups at a time, because it takes the same amount of time to cook 3 cups of beans or 6 to 8 cups of beans. It just depends how big of a pot you have. You can cook them in your Dutch oven, in the oven, or you can do them in your crock pot. Either way. And it is not hard, but there are some tricks to making really good flavorful beans. They will be less expensive, they will be healthier, and they will taste better. But only if you do it the way I tell you to. So, the things I did last night is, one, of course, I soaked my beans. I know there's ways where you can sort of do a quick soak, but telling you, it's worth your time to it's just planning. It's like, what am I going to have tomorrow? Oh yeah, I got to soak my beans. Just put water over them. This is not a hard thing. Soaking starts the germination process of your beans. And why is that important? All of the seed foods we eat, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes like lentils, peas, kidney beans, pinto beans, these are all seed foods. And while technically there's a lot of nutrition in there, protein, starches, minerals, most of that stuff is bound up in a way that makes it not very bioavailable to you. Why? Plants do not exist for you to eat them and be nourished by them. Plants make their seeds so that some bird or mammal will walk by, eat them, and it will pass through with minimal effect on the seed and be pooped out, complete with fertilizer, somewhere else to grow into another plant. And the way they protect them is, the seed, there's a seed coat that has some things on it, but the proteins are bound up with these enzyme inhibitors to keep them from, germinating ahead of time when it's not ready to grow. The minerals in these seed foods are bound up with phytates, which are basically, they're chelated, so they can't combine with enzymes to start growing a plant. And so when you eat these, you're not going to be able to absorb the protein as efficiently. You will not absorb the minerals like zinc, manganese, calcium, iron, whatever minerals have been tested to be in these beans. They're not going to be available to you. Sorry. You've got to sprout them. And what sprouting does, and this is just soaking it overnight as if you were going to plant it in the ground. Soaking tells the seed, it's time to germinate. And it liberates that protein from the enzyme inhibitors. It liberates the minerals from those phytates and it starts breaking down the starches to make them easier to digest, i.e. less farting, and makes the protein easier to digest. You can absorb all the things. So not only do you get more of the nutrients from your beans, but you get less gas from your beans. That's a winner of an idea, I think. So that is the reason I want you to soak your beans ahead of time. It's not hard, it doesn't take time, it just takes planning, I mean lowbrow planning, like, oh, I think I'm having beans tomorrow, soak. That's not hard. So after dinner last night, I'm like, what am I going to have tomorrow? And my husband said, you haven't made a pot pinto beans in a couple weeks. I'm like, all right, decision made. So here's the thing. How do you make it taste good? So many times you make beans and they don't taste as good as like, oh, but that can of Annie's refried beans is so good. True. These are my tricks. One, after I soak my beans, I cook them in a big pot, like a much bigger pot than I need because otherwise the beans boil over. So I soak my beans, drain the liquid off, put it back in the pot, and of course I cook them with kombu, sea kelp. Makes them more digestible. Also adds incredible umami flavor. That kelp just gives that broth that smoky flavor. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're vegetarian and you're not going to use any ham or bacon or ham hock, you're missing out on that great umami flavor. The kombu is a gotta do. It will transform your plant-based cooking. I do not have that restriction anymore, so I use all of the cheats. I use the kombu when I'm cooking, and I'm just letting those beans cook on their own. And they are looking pretty good. They've been on. I put them on early this morning because that's something that can go on in the background. They are cooked. I'm just going to add a little salt to that cooking liquid. They're done. And so what I've done now, because I want these to cook all day long, either in the crock pot or my oven, haven't decided yet, I'm making my flavor paste. And my flavor paste is put a little olive oil in the pan. I chopped up 1 onion. You could do 2 because I think I soaked 5 or 6 cups of beans. I just did an onion. And then I did some bacon. And I didn't use a lot of bacon. And again, when I use bacon, I thawed out some bacon for my pork order. Actually, I didn't thaw it out. I just pulled it out of the freezer and cut a couple inches off of it. So I had chopped up bacon that equaled about maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of chopped up bacon. I don't know what that equals. And then I'm just going to put it back in the freezer. It is my flavor. It's just going to flavor it. It gives it more of that smoky, salty, umami, bacony taste. Bacon, onion, and tomato is this magical combination for beans. I love it. So my onions are getting really soft. I just added some garlic, and now I'm going to add some spices and my tomato and add in my beans. So what I'm adding here is I'm going to add some smoked paprika, like 1/2 teaspoon or less. Smoked paprika is awesome. It's also a flavor bully. It will overpower everything when I don't want it to. Then I'm going to add, what am I doing? About a big, kind of this 2 heaping teaspoons, maybe a heaping tablespoon of cumin, ground cumin. Fry those spices up. And then I have some tomato paste. I don't have that much. Tomato puree, if you're in the UK. I could use more. I just don't feel like opening another can. And this is enough. Frying your tomatoes. Tomatoes will also give that umami flavor. And when I talk about umami flavor, I'm talking about glutamates. Glutamates, high glutamate content in foods give that rich, smoky umami flavor. And you get that in cooked tomatoes, Parmesan cheese, bacon, kombu, super high in glutamates, monosodium glutamate. That's why you get the umami flavor from that, because it's high in glutamates. Yeah, so I'm making use of a lot of those. And this is it. This is my, I'm going to tip this ring stand. That is my flavor paste. I think if I were not being let's adjust that, not being super lazy, I would put maybe 2 heaping tablespoons of tomato paste in there for this many beans, but I'm not going to open another can of tomatoes. Yeah. Let's get this going. And now I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of those. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all the bean cooking water. Where's my jars? I'm going to get a Pyrex jar. Hang on. You want the right amount of cooking liquid in here, so let's see. I'm just going to pour off a little bit of the cooking liquid, and then pour all those beans. There we go. That's it. And the complicated part is over. The rest is just cook and wait. Now, cooking with for me, the right amount of cooking liquid means I want my beans to dry out just a little bit so that you get that brown, crusty stuff on the edge like you get with baked beans, because I think that gives it extra flavor. So I can see that I want the liquid up to the level of the beans, and I think it needs just a little bit more. It depends. If you're going to leave and you know you're going to neglect your food all day, err on the side of more water because you don't want it to get too dry. But I'm going to be home off and on most of the day, so I know I'll check this. That's it. I'm going to put the lid on. Hi, Renee. I'm going to put the lid on. I'm going to put it in my oven at 325 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to leave it there all day. You can put it in the crock pot. Now, here's the thing. If you put it in a crock pot and you're going to eat it that night, put it on high. If you're going to put it in the crock pot and it's the night before and you want it for the next day, put it on low. Okay? So pretty simple. And I'm going to use these pinto beans and burritos and all sorts of other things. Blood sugar. I know that these beans have a lot of starch in them, and some people are really sensitive blood sugar. Maybe the beans are a bit too much for them. But by and large, for most people, beans are great food for managing your blood sugar, and here's why. While they do have a lot of starch, a lot of carbohydrates, they also have protein, and they have a ton of fiber in them. And that fiber will help slow your blood sugar and give you good, steady blood sugar and energy. And over time, doing that more and more, you're going to improve your blood sugar levels, your energy levels, stabilize your weight, blah, blah, blah. But also, it feeds your microbiome. It feeds that bacteria down there, and we know that a good, healthy microbiome with good diversity, because you fed it lots of different fibers, including the fibers from legumes, that helps you control your blood sugar levels better. So, all good. So I always encourage people to make one big beanie thing, whether it's a big pot of pintos, a black bean chili, just my red bean and quinoa chili that I got from Cynthia Lair's book. What other big, the Tuscan bean soup, the navy bean soup, something like that to really give them a lot of fiber. It's great, and it's really economical too. That's it. So thanks for watching, and if you're like me, enjoy the sun while it lasts. Bye.